Thank you, Mr Speaker. I take a call on behalf of New Zealand First on the Consumer Law Reform Bill, and New Zealand First. No, I'm the spokesman for Consumer Affairs, Mr Bridges, and as the spokesman for Consumer Affairs, I can advise the Honourable Simon Bridges that we will be supporting this bill because after 25 years it is overdue that there is a review of consumer legislation, and this is long overdue, and we feel it is good legislation to be bringing to this House. It was very interesting hearing the dissertation from Tau Henare all about his antics with Trade Me and selling from vehicles outside his house and all that sort of thing, and it certainly would have qualified him greatly to become the next Speaker in this House with such significant consumer knowledge of Trade Me and all the wins that he has made on Trade Me. What a shame he didn't continue through with his position as Speaker, because I'm sure with that sort of background and that sort of ability, he would have won support hands down from everybody in this House, I'm sure. But as he didn't, we'll have to look for another day when Tau Henare will put his name forward as Speaker, and we all look forward to that occurring. But in terms of the Consumer Law Reform Bill, the purpose of this bill is certainly it covers all transactions between traders and consumers, and that's a very important part of this bill, that it will tidy up that whole business of and the grey areas, what happens between traders and consumers, particularly online, particularly on the internet and all that sort of thing, where there is a certain element of risk and where people are a little bit dubious about how to conduct business online. So this does tidy a lot of that up. In terms of competitive tenders and in terms of ensuring that the goods are received properly and in good order, and that the person sending the goods is responsible for those goods until they are signed for and received by the recipient. And again, that is a good thing, because there have been a lot of areas of doubt, and particularly with retailers sending things out these days more and more by courier and by various means to ensure that the goods are received by the person in proper order as they expect them. Also, in terms of the Fair Trading Act, as part of this bill, reviewing that to prevent unfair contract terms and standard form contracts. And again, so it's tidying up a lot of those standard form contracts, and again, that's a good thing. Modelling a lot of that on the basis of Australian consumer law, and likewise, it is good that we're bringing our standards into line with many Australian consumer law standards, and again, that is very useful, because so much does move trans-Tasman between Australia and New Zealand. So much as these days, in fact, often the goods are not housed in New Zealand. They're often housed in Sydney or Melbourne or somewhere else, and they come directly from other places. And so it is good that we're lining up with Australian consumer law so that, again, we are better protected. In terms of breaches of the Fair Trading Act, the penalties are also increased, which is a good thing, going from $60,000 for breaches of the Fair Trading Act to $200,000 for individuals who breach the Fair Trading Act. That's a maximum, up to a maximum of $200,000. And for bodies corporate, going from $200,000 to $600,000. Now, $600,000 is starting to get into some serious money in terms of possible breaches of the Fair Trading Act. So again, that is a good thing. New Zealand First has said in this House that we will support good policy and we will oppose bad policy. In this case, we believe this is good policy. This is a good move. This does greatly improve the rights of consumers in this country, but also probably also sets a better standard for providers, for suppliers, for merchants and all that sort of thing, so that they very much will know where they stand and what their requirements are in terms of service. and also the consumer will have a far safer position in terms of doing business, particularly on the internet. And nowadays, with so much being sold via internet or via email or via text and Twitter and all sorts of things, it is vitally important that if you can't physically touch the product, but you see it online or whatever, that you have more guarantees and more safeguards to protect you. So we support this, and New Zealand First will be voting for the bill.
Call Tim McIndoe.
Thank you, sir.